early on when I was in my college days, my boyfriend at the time, his mom passed away
Mm-hmm.
from suicide. And I think that it definitely shaped like who I am today. Having that, tragedy happen, it made me more introverted.
Yeah, you mean your boyfriend's mom's suicide?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And um, so I became much more reflective, quiet, and I just had a lot to go through because I spent a lot of my energy just um, taking care of him in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it was especially traumatic for me because I found her, and so it was like
Mm.
just like that event of being kind of stuck and not realizing that counseling was something I should be going to.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take years before I even like paid counseling any attention,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So you mean like it was later that you thought that you should have gone to counseling at the
But
time, or
yeah,
you went because of that trauma back then?
both.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Well, I
Yeah.
I think I realized like, oh, counseling would probably help me. And as we were there, it's like, oh, we do need to work through,
Mm-hmm.
things that happened really early on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually curious then about what your feelings were as you were in college
Yeah.
and going through that. I mean,
It was, I think I actually didn't tell anyone
mm-hmm,
about what happened, and it was
mm-hmm,
only a very, like, maybe three people kind of found out because they heard me crying or something like that.
mm,
And I think growing up, I was in this very, like, it comes down to your heritage, like just this Asian, like, people pleasing.
mm-hmm,
You don't talk back.
yeah,
Honestly, my family was very, like, my relationship with my mother, it was very, like, 冷战, like,
mm,
Cold War style, right? And we've worked through that a lot. Like, we're much closer. Me and my mom are much closer, but, like, growing up, she just have to go, like, and I would,
oh,
the Asians,
wow,
and the whole car would be sad,
oh,
you know?
interesting, yeah,
And
yeah,
I think, like, because of all of that, I didn't feel like I could express
mm,
pain or think or myself if I needed help. I didn't know how to ask for help. And so I was good at putting on a front, when it happened in college, and my friends could sense something had happened, but they also didn't really know how to access it. I think I ruined like my first 2 3 relationships by doing the Linsen.
oh,
Yeah, where it's like I can't talk about it. I can't
mm-hmm,
talk about the problems or what's going on. I'm just gonna be angry, and you should know what's wrong with me, and you
mm-hmm,
should like do better, right? So this is all happening in my head, but
yeah,
the person across from me, they don't know what the hell
yeah,
you know they should do, right?
yeah,
And so I've gotten better over the years at expressing my needs.
mm-hmm,
But that honestly, that did take like art therapy, doing it myself, and then friends, and then honestly a therapist like pointing it out. And then all these like light bulb moments of, oh, like I've been really harsh on other people, or I've been really harsh on myself.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. So I think there was a point in time where I was reading so many counseling and therapy books. And it honestly wasn't that long ago. I was like, I think I'm trying to get therapy like through this. I should just go find a therapist, and
yeah.
it was really good. Yeah.
I just feel like when you're mentioning that, your surroundings growing up, it has such a effect on people,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and like you said, we just don't realize it. I mean, when you're talking about your mom with that,
Mm-hmm.
that's funny, but it's not, because like I think Americans also have, because if I remember my mom, she never did that thing because she would more talk it out. You know, being American is very forward talking. You know,
Right.
even the mom and dad, you did da. And it wasn't. It. I never grew up with that. But if as a child or as a the age that you were and you were able to talk to somebody about it, do you think it would have been better or changed you in any way? Or
For sure. I think being able to recognize my own needs, I think that took a lot of time. And then feeling supported, because I think a lot of times in the dark, the college period, it was also like I didn't know how to ask for, I didn't recognize what I needed. And um, and so it took many years before I felt comfortable even sharing, like, yeah, this is part of my past, this is part of my story. Like, even just being able to speak it,
yeah,
and uh, and this is a very therapist word, and unpack it.
and what
Unpack it,
unpack
yes.
it. Yeah, yeah,
But I think so. Honestly, like it's just a growing process, yeah, evolving process. And it was my therapist who pointed out, it's a generational thing. Like with each generation, you heal a little bit, right? Like there are moments where I try not to be like my mother with my kids, and so I really push myself to not just end with the
Do you
feeling,
catch
right?
yourself doing that?
Do,
You
and
do
then
still.
yes,
Yeah.
and then I try to talk it out, even if I'm like a little forceful, and then later I come back around. I just make sure that we don't go to bed angry,
Yeah. Yeah.
or I try to, because I don't want them to take that with them, or for them to treat their kids like that
Yeah.
later on. And she was saying that, because I was telling her my mom's mom, like she was kind of depressive, and she was saying, depression often is a sign of unspoken anger. That probably she never had a chance to express herself. And I was just listening to the Chen Shuiyun episode that you had done,
Okay.
and how she had been like, sold. My grandmother was also like a given away. She was a middle daughter given away,
It's
right?
that decade or that
Yeah, that
time.
generation.
Yeah.
So my mom is being brought up by this woman who was sent to her, future husband to be family when she was really young, right? And once they were old enough, they would get married. They would have 6 kids, right? But I think my mom, or maybe, I'm sure my grandmother, she's never told me a single story about this. It's all coming from my mom. But that, she was really scared to have to go to that family, that she was really shut down. And so slowly, generation by generation, we are healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing what things that, as kids, if things that happen to us, what is repressed. Because I never actually really thought when I was adopted at such a young age.
How old were you?
I was 6, 5 or 6.
Okay.
And I never really thought that it affected me. I was yeah, I got this. I can go to the States and do all of this and stuff. And it wasn't until I was an adult too that through process or talking or healing or trying to heal yourself in terms of certain things once you're a woman and an adult, and actually literally searching for things to help, that I found out, oh yeah, I was, that incident in my life at that time, even though I didn't know that I had that problem.
Right.
It really was something deep inside that, once it comes out, it makes you, I don't know, better, or face it better, or I'm not sure exactly what it is. But I think the most important thing during the time that we're talking about all of this stuff is that when you are aware, I think that's the most important thing. When you're aware that there's a problem with something that you're going through, and you're able to make conscious effort to change it, because people go through their lives and they would never be aware that they're like this, or they never would be aware that they have a problem.
Right.
And so they can't change it because they don't recognize it.
Yeah.
But being able to recognize it, and the fact that, with your kids, you don't want to be like your mom. And just whatever, we all always say, we don't want to be like our moms, but that's really, really important.
Yeah, the amazing thing is, I feel like she's also, just over the years, she's simmered down and she's more relaxed, and we have a much better relationship now, but like she's gotten a chance to evolve out.
Yeah. If today's conversation made you think about your own journey, please like, comment, and subscribe.